Sometimes the smallest act of honesty can change the entire course of a person's life. She thought she was just doing the right thing by returning a wallet, but what awaited her after that moment was something she could have never imagined. It was late afternoon in a quiet town on the edge of the city, where the sun painted the sky in soft shades of orange and pink, and people hurried home after a long day. Among them was Emily Carter, a young woman in her early 20s who worked 2 part-time jobs just to make ends meet. Life hadn't been easy for her. She had dreams of finishing college, dreams of giving her younger brother a better life, dreams of becoming someone who could stand tall in the world, but those dreams were often buried under piles of bills and unpaid tuition fees. That evening, as she walked home from her shift at the small diner on Main Street, she noticed something unusual on the cracked sidewalk just near the bus stop. At first, she thought it was just a dark piece of leather tossed aside. But as she bent down to take a closer look, she realized it was a wallet, a thick, heavy wallet that felt like it was filled with more than just a few cards. Emily hesitated, her fingers trembling slightly as she opened it. Inside, her eyes widened. There were bundles of cash, neatly stacked, more money than she had ever seen in one place. It wasn't just a few bills, it looked like several $1,000s. Her heart pounded in her chest. She had been worrying about how to pay rent next month, how to buy groceries, and here, lying in her hands, was an answer to all her problems. The thought crossed her mind, no one saw me pick it up. No one would know if I kept it. But alongside that thought came another, her late mother's voice, echoing from her childhood, reminding her of the value of honesty, of doing what was right even when it was hard. Emily bit her lip, her conscience battling with her desperation. She flipped through the wallet and found an ID card. The name read, James Anderson, an older gentleman with kind eyes staring from the photograph. She also noticed credit cards, business cards, and receipts, all belonging to him. Her mind spun. What kind of person carried so much cash around? Why had he dropped it? And most importantly, what should she do now? The bus pulled up, and people shuffled in. Emily clutched the wallet tightly in her hand and knew her decision would define her. She could walk away, change her life instantly with this money, or she could return it and continue struggling. She sighed deeply, whispering to herself, "Do the right thing, Emily. Always the right thing." And with that, she turned and started walking, not home, but toward the address she had spotted on one of the cards tucked neatly inside the wallet. Emily's nerves grew tighter with every step she took toward the upscale neighborhood listed on the card. The houses here were nothing like the tiny apartment she shared with her younger brother. These homes had large gates, manicured lawns, and shiny cars parked in driveways. She felt out of place walking down the street, clutching the wallet, wearing her simple work uniform that smelled faintly of coffee and fried food. Finally, she reached the large, white brick house with black shutters and a red door. She swallowed hard before knocking. A few moments later, the door opened, and there stood a man in his late 60s. His hair was silver, his suit was crisp, and his sharp eyes softened slightly as they fell on her. "Yes, can I help you?" he asked in a voice that was both commanding and gentle. Emily's throat felt dry, but she managed to hold out the wallet. "Are you Mr. James Anderson?" she asked. His eyes widened as he recognized the wallet instantly. Yes, that's mine." "My God, where did you find it?" Emily explained quickly about finding it on the sidewalk near the bus stop. He took it from her hands, opened it, and his face showed immense relief when he saw the cash was untouched. "Do you know how important this is?" he asked, shaking his head in disbelief. "This money was meant for a special purpose. I thought I'd lost it forever." Emily just nodded, unsure of what to say. She expected him to thank her, maybe give her a handshake or even a small reward, and then she would be on her way. But instead, Mr. Anderson studied her carefully. "What's your name, young lady?" "Emily," she answered softly. "Emily Carter." He gestured for her to come inside. At first, she resisted. She didn't feel comfortable entering such a grand home, but his insistence and warm smile made her step in. The inside of the house was even more beautiful than the outside, with polished wooden floors, elegant paintings, and the faint smell of fresh flowers. They sat in the living room, and Mr. Anderson asked her about herself. Hesitantly at first, Emily spoke about her life, her mother who had passed away, her younger brother she was raising, her 2 part-time jobs, her struggle to save for college. She hadn't planned to share so much, but there was something in his presence that made her feel safe. When she finished, James leaned back, clearly impressed by her honesty and strength. "Do you realize what most people would have done if they found this wallet?" he said. "They would have kept it. You could have kept it. But you didn't. That says more about you than you realize." Emily lowered her eyes, feeling both embarrassed and proud. She murmured, "I just thought it was the right thing to do." Mr. Anderson smiled, but there was a glint in his eyes, something Emily couldn't quite read. At that moment, she had no idea that returning this wallet would change the entire direction of her life. The following day, Emily went back to her routine, waking early, making breakfast for her brother, rushing to the diner, and later heading to her second shift at the bookstore. But her mind kept wandering back to Mr. Anderson. She had returned the wallet and thought that was the end of it. But that afternoon, as she walked into the diner, she saw a familiar figure sitting at one of the booths. It was him, James Anderson. He was sipping coffee, waiting for her. Emily froze in surprise. When she approached nervously, he looked up with a warm smile. "Hello, Emily. I hope you don't mind me stopping by," he said. She shook her head, still confused. "Not at all, sir, but why are you here?" He motioned for her to sit. "Because I want to get to know the young woman who returned my wallet," he said. "I've been thinking a lot about you." Emily sat down cautiously, not sure where this was going. James then asked her about her dreams. She admitted shyly that she wanted to study business management, maybe even start her own company one day, but the idea seemed impossible with her financial struggles. James listened intently. Then he said something that made her blink in disbelief. "What if I told you I could help you achieve those dreams?" Emily frowned. "Help me? But why?" He leaned forward. "Because sometimes life brings the right people together for a reason. Because I believe honesty should be rewarded. And because I see potential in you, Emily. A rare kind of integrity and strength." Emily was stunned. She didn't know how to respond. Part of her felt it was too good to be true, another part feared it might be some sort of trick. But when James slid his business card across the table and invited her to visit his office the next day, curiosity overcame her hesitation. The next morning, Emily found herself standing in front of a tall glass building downtown. The sign read, Anderson Enterprises. She realized then that James Anderson wasn't just any man, he was a successful businessman, perhaps even a billionaire. Her heart raced as she stepped inside. The receptionist greeted her warmly and led her straight to his office. James welcomed her and explained his plan. He wanted to mentor her, guide her, and even sponsor her college education. But there was a catch: he wanted to see if she truly had the dedication to rise above her circumstances. He offered her an entry-level job at his company, starting immediately. Emily's eyes filled with tears. It felt unreal. She had gone from worrying about her next meal to being offered a chance at a whole new future, all because she returned a wallet. But this was only the beginning. What Emily didn't know was that James had no children of his own, and he had been quietly searching for someone to carry on his legacy. And in Emily, he thought he might have finally found that person. Over the next few months, Emily worked harder than ever at Anderson Enterprises. She started at the bottom, organizing files, answering phones, running errands, but she never complained. She arrived early, stayed late, and soaked up every bit of knowledge she could. Her sincerity, work ethic, and kindness quickly caught the attention of everyone in the office. James watched her progress closely, mentoring her whenever he could. He taught her about leadership, decision-making, and the importance of building a business with honesty and compassion. Emily's confidence grew, and so did her dreams. She could feel herself transforming, little by little, into the person she had always wanted to be. One evening, after several months of working there, James called her into his office. She assumed he wanted to review her progress, but instead, he surprised her with an envelope. Inside was a letter of acceptance. She had been enrolled in a prestigious university's business program, fully paid for. Emily gasped, tears spilling from her eyes. I can't accept this," she stammered. James smiled gently. "Yes, you can. You've earned it. This is not charity, Emily. This is an investment, in you, in your future." Overwhelmed, she hugged him tightly, something she hadn't planned to do, and whispered, "Thank you. You don't know what this means to me." But the surprises didn't end there. Years later, after Emily had graduated with top honors and risen through the ranks of Anderson Enterprises, James made an announcement that left everyone stunned. At a company-wide meeting, he stood on stage with Emily by his side and declared, "This young woman once returned my wallet when she could have kept it. She showed me what true integrity looks like. And today, I want the world to know, she is not just an employee. She is my chosen successor. One day, she will lead this company." The crowd erupted in applause. Emily's eyes filled with tears once again, but this time, they were tears of joy, gratitude, and disbelief. She had never expected her life to turn out this way. All because of one simple act of honesty. As she stood there beside James Anderson, her heart whispered the truth she had learned. Sometimes the smallest choices, like returning a wallet, can open doors to the greatest destinies. And that was the surprise of her life. If this story touched your heart, remember, honesty and kindness are never wasted. Share this story to remind others that doing the right thing can change lives. Subscribe to Kindness Vibes for more heart-touching true-to-life stories that inspire hope and humanity. And let us know in the comments, what would you have done if you found that wallet?